all 7 summits, and which an incredible feat, obviously.
I have maybe a little funny story there. So I was born and raised in Kathmandu and played practically no sports growing up. So that was my kind of, sulking as a kid that I haven't been part of any teams or even, individual sports because our school didn't have that, our community didn't have that. So I was always like, when I grow up, I wanna test my physical limits. What can I do with my body? I've always been a talkative, big mouth person. I was good in my academics. So I was like, I can rule the world with my brain. That's not an issue. But you can see that, I tell people I'm 5 feet tall on a good day. So I'm 4 feet 11 inches. I've practically always been underweight, skinny. So I was always curious, what can I do with this body that I have? So I was very clear about, wanting to try to do something with my body. So it could have been dancing, it could have been running, anything, gymnastics. I would have run after any opportunity that came my way. And in the year 2007, I came to know about this team working towards forming an expedition of Nepali women to climb Everest. And, young and stupid.
Good.
I was
Why not? Why not? Right.
Why not? I got to try. So that's how it started.
Okay.
So when you told that earlier story of going to Everest Base Camp and the whole thing, that was the training for me. When I went for my training, it was my first ever trek. It was the most physically demanding thing I ever did in my life. And I was terrible.
So what does the training look like?
So when you want to climb Everest, you can do whatever training is available or you're interested in. There's no standard of this is the training you need to do. For us, we have our Alpine Association, Nepal Mountaineering Association, and they have these really intense mountaineering training courses. They've been running for maybe, 50 years now. So in collaboration with, alpine associations in other countries like European countries and stuff. So there was this, annual training and there were 5 women from my team who applied for it. And at the time, there were just so few women in mountaineering, so they had a reservation and we, got in through that. And
all of you joined together?
We're a team of 10 women from the expedition. So out of those 10, 5 of us went for this particular training. Some had already completed it in previous years and some hadn't joined the team yet. So there are 5 of us who went for it. And oh my God, it was not easy.
So this started as just Everest for you and then turned into all 7.
Yeah, it started as a Nepali women's expedition to Mount Everest. And
what was important about it being Nepali women?
So the background to that is this is the year 2007, and till then we only had 7 women from Nepal who had climbed Everest.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it's right there.
Exactly.
It's like 10 Americans have gone to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why this expedition was formed, because high time we had more women, from Nepal participating in the mountains. So so that's kind of how we started. And there's a long story of socioeconomic challenges, and we were literally told on our faces that this is a joke, this is overambitious, all sorts of things.
So that was so much more symbolic than, symbolic of a cultural change, I would imagine, and symbolic of saying, hey, this is something that's right here, and for whatever reason, we talked actually at dinner a lot about the unique challenges of Nepali women culturally. And I would imagine that would say, hey, if we can get these women to climb a mountain, that's a significant moment, significant step.
Yeah, it was. I believe that it was just something bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
It was just the time. It was just, I think, meant to be. We had just come out of 10 years of armed conflict in Nepal. We had just, at that time, we abolished monarchy, and the whole political environment at that time was of inclusiveness in, mostly various ways like gender inclusion, and we are more than 100 ethnicities in Nepal. And so ethnic, what we call caste, that inclusion of people from all regions of the country. So inclusion was like a big, ongoing thing. And somehow our team happened to be formed around this time. So we were named, no prizes for guessing, first inclusive women Sagarmatha expedition. Sagarmatha is the name for Everest in Nepali language. So it was a big deal. So there was a lot of support, but that came a little later maybe. And in the beginning, you're faced with a lot of apprehension and doubts. At the time, it hurt, but now I understand it's just that people hadn't seen anything like this before, so they just didn't know, what to make of it. We're a team of 10 women from Nepal trying to climb Everest.
How long did that training take?
So this training that we went for was 45 days, part of it in Kathmandu, and then 3 weeks plus in actual high mountains in Langtang Himalayas. So we trained, I think in meters. So 3,800 meters is probably 12,000 feet roughly.
Right.
That was our base for a week. And then we went higher, close to Everest Base Camp elevation. We were camped there for another week. So 3+ weeks.
So people don't understand how difficult it is just to sleep at 12,000 feet. That's hard already. A lot like I've done some hiking in Colorado. Obviously, I'm not trying to compare that in any way to Everest. But you go up and come right back down. It's hard enough up there. I can't imagine.
Everything's done in one day.
You go, oh, man, this is really tough. But okay, at the end of the day, I get to go sleep at 8,000, 7,000. I can't imagine even just sleeping at 12.
I was hiking in Colorado sometime last year. So my husband Tyler and I, and our dog Mia, we went for a hike. And because of the pandemic, I hadn't been out and done any hiking or anything for a year or so, I guess. And I still remember in Colorado, this is, I want to say 9,000 to 10,000 feet. Like the first 5 minutes, I was like, I don't think I can hike for like 1+ hour. I really thought I couldn't. When I was moving my feet, I felt like somebody was pulling my calves back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, wow, this is how elevation feels. I'd forgotten in a year.
Yeah. I've talked to some people that, have hiked a good number of the tall mountains in Colorado, and they'll say it doesn't get any easier. You just can get faster at it.
Yeah.
You get faster at it.
Also, in my experience is basically, high elevation, the whole thing is lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we are oxygen creatures. We need that. We don't get oxygen, we're dead. So how does your body respond to the lack of oxygen can be very different from person to person. And also, how do you cope with that can be slightly different for people. So, for instance, once I cross, I want to say around 5,000 meters, maybe 17,000-ish feet, my high altitude issue is actually diarrhea. And, my joke is when I'm in Kathmandu or Denver and I have upset tummy, I never think, oh, maybe I don't have enough oxygen. But when I'm climbing mountains, my kind of digestive system is the first to kind of, feel the stress of not having enough oxygen. Whereas most of my other friends don't have that. There are people who throw up, there are people who have headache or shortness of breath. And so the more you do it, now I can tell, right? I'm in 4,000 meters, I'm 5,000 meters. So I'm like, oh, I need to hydrate more, or today I need to walk a lot more slowly. So I just know what to do with my body better. So over time, it's not like it's different for me. My body is still trying to make sense of this, lack of oxygen, but I know what my body will respond to faster. So that's just it, I think.
Did you take any high altitude medication like a Diamox or anything like that to oxygenate the blood, or do you just get acclimated to it by being up there?
Yeah, we are pretty old school.
Yeah.
So the leaders we had were experienced mountain climbers, were leading us for the Everest expedition, Dagombu Sherpa and Pembadorji Sherpa. And Dagombu Sherpa is no more, but he was a mountaineering instructor. So he's trained like, most of the superstar climbers of our generation. And he was like, if you're feeling bad, aspirin, half of it. That's it.
Wow.
And our schooling was if you need to take Diamox or, dexamethasone, any of those things, that means you take it and you start going down because you're struggling. Also, another education was if I'm taking Diamox to go up, especially when I'm climbing mountains, not trekking to the base camp. If I'm going up to the mountains, if I'm already on Diamox, and if still something goes wrong, then what is going to come to my rescue, right? So we've always done it the natural, organic way, and there have been times when we've actually decided to turn around from a mountain, then inject or pop something and try to keep going up. We don't do that.
So you did this 45-day training. Did you start the ascent right after that? I mean, did you guys then start the Everest expedition immediately following the training?
I went for this training in summer 2007 in Nepal, and we climbed the next spring 2008. So the entire preparation for us, it was less than a year, but it was several months of intense training. So we started with this training because the training was being offered like it had been for 30 plus years at that time. So we just signed up for it and, went with it. And after we did that, our team was based in Kathmandu, and every single day we'd train for anywhere between 5 to 6 hours. And the final 2 months before the expedition, we had kind of a closed camp. We stayed at my parents' place, actually, and so all of us, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. We ate a lot. We worked out a lot. Right. We asked for people money a lot because we needed funding.
Right.
So that was like the whole cycle.
So tell me about the expedition then. So you guys started that the year after.
Yeah, so the climbing season for Everest is spring. That's when the mountain is more stable. So you want to think late March, April, and then May, and kind of somewhere in June, the monsoon starts, and you do not want to be traveling or climbing or hiking anywhere in the country at that time, June, once the monsoon starts. So what you call summer here, June, July, August, maybe some of September. So the idea is to be done by the end of May. And we left for the expedition sometime in mid-April, and we had some permit delays issues, so we lost a couple of weeks there. And you arrive at the base camp, I want to say roughly around 10 days. You walk to the base camp, so you trek to the base camp of Everest, and that itself is slow, and you've done this, you know it. So, few hours, maybe 5 hours, 6 hours every single day. You're not racing. You're just going slowly and slowly. And the idea is to let your body kind of get adjusted to that elevation, right? So you arrive at the base camp, and once you're at the base camp, you rest for a few days, and then you want to go to the higher slopes of Everest. You go up and down a lot, at least 2 or 3 times. And then finally, you wait for the weather forecast, and you pick your best summit day. When the summit is going to be super clear, there is no snow, there is no wind, and it's going to take you 4 days to make it to the summit from the base camp. You'll stop at like various camps on the way. There are 4 camps above base camp. So on the 4th morning, hopefully you'll be at the summit of Everest, and it takes 3 more days to come back down. So the final push is 4 days up, 3 days down, and then you trek back to where you started from.
How tall is the 4th camp?
The 4th camp is roughly 8,000 meters, which is, I think, 26,300 feet. So it's the beginning of what they call death zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're spending one night there.
Hold on. Did you say death zone?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what it's called.
It's called death zone because above 8,000 meters, there are only 14 mountains in the world above that elevation. So it's a rarity to be in any, Earth's surface above that elevation, and it just supports no life. And even though we go and climb, our body kind of is eating itself up. The food you eat is not going to give you enough energy to, sustain life there for a prolonged period of time. So that's there. And the environment around you, there's 1/3 oxygen compared to sea level. So the environment outside is trying to kill you. Your body inside is like eating you up. So you're just visitors with limited time. And there's somebody who said in a documentary movie, there was a doctor, she